The sound of the bagpipes mean one thing and one thing only. It's time for DERFCAST, episode number 45. We are recorded in the DERFCAST studios in beautiful San Francisco in the Inner Sunset District. And I am joined today by my security guard, Max the cat, and the engineer, my beautiful feline four-footed engineer, Pipes the cat. And without Pipes, none of this would happen. You can listen to past episodes and this episode on Comfortably Zoned Radio Network owned by Ralph Tycho on iTunes, or you can go to SoundCloud.com, type all caps. Anytime you want to listen to the show, it's all caps, DERFCAST. And like I said, we are in the inner sunset of San Francisco. I want to thank last time's guest, Matt Mann, on something like episode number 44, and Matt Mann will join us for part 2 in episode 46. But I am joined by one of my favorite guests. This is his third appearance on DERFCAST, and he's an actual wrestling announcer, actual wrestling promoter, and a wrestling historian, aficionado, and a man who knows more about wrestling than I do. There's not too many people out there. I'd like to welcome to the show Joe Sousa. And I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much for that intro.
Oh, you know.
I was looking around saying, where's he at? Where's he at? I was like, holy cow.
No, you've done it all. I mean, you've announced, you promoted, you booked. Yeah, welcome to the show. You know, you bring class and knowledge to this show, which is kind of hard.
Well, indeed, the pleasure is all mine, man. I mean, like I said, we became friends on Facebook a ways back, and like you said, before we went on the air, there's not very many of us left pertaining to fans of the Shire promotion.
No,
Cow Palace.
No, and you are an expert on that, and we're like we talked about off air. We're both waiting for Rock Rim's book to come out. Also, his book on Rotten Ron Star, but West Coast Wrestling. And I know he's talked to you a couple times about it, and gotten some of your information. And he's talked to me about Lonnie Lane once, and I think I'm mentioned in it, but I don't care if I am or not. But that's what this show's going to be about today, Joe. That's why I took you up on your offer and asked you to come on, because we're going to talk about Cow Palace Wrestling, Portland, and, of course, the Shire's promotion.
Sounds good to me, man. This is, I always enjoy talking about that. I mean, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Well, to be in this business, I don't care what anybody says, you have to be a wrestling fan. If you're just doing it for the money or for the glory or whatever, you better pack a lunch and take a hike or something, because that just ain't going to happen. But once again, that's just my opinion. Oh,
I agree. I mean, we were blessed or very privileged to be around big-time wrestling from Shires. They're a different promotion than, let's say, Mike LaBelle from L.A. or Portland Wrestling, although Portland comes a close second in my book. Not to say that wrestling was real, but it was presented in a much better view, than the other two. For me. I mean, Portland maybe had, an angle every other week on TV. Shires had one once a month. And it meant something, and they drew off it, and it made you talk about it, which for me was great. Versus, like, say, UWF, that every show, every match was an angle. Just comparing.
Oh, very, very true, very true. Like I said, with my age, I got turned on to it in 1969 when I was a little kid. I was living up here in Eureka, where the Shire's promotion would come up here 3 or 4 times a year. So, catching, Patterson, Stevens, Mafia, Gomez, Bobby Shane, name a few. And, watching it on Channel 2 with the great announcer Walt Harris doing the play-by-play, and which, I myself, when I do play-by-play, I have borrowed a lot from Mr. Walt Harris.
Well, you have.
Oh, yeah, along with Hank Renner and my 2 favorite announcers up in Portland, Frank Bonema and Don Koss. Now, with Walt Harris, one of the his tags that he would always do when they would come back on the air from a commercial. You would hear, Walt Harris once again, and talking to so-and-so. Well, that clicked with me, so when I do play-by-play, when we come back to a match, I go, Joe Sousa once again, and boom, 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 boom. So it's a little, tribute, and it's just, such a class act Walt Harris is.
Well, you're privileged. I grew up with Hank Renner right when, probably about 71 or 72, but I've listened to whatever little bit of recordings of Walt Harris are, and a very classy guy. You could tell just was a great announcer from what I heard.
Oh yeah, and I was very fortunate enough. I mean, in our last, the last time I was on, we talked about, my Cow Palace footage collection, which I got from Dorothy Hobbs.
Right.
Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I picked up, and this was, it was like 19 years ago, because it was about the time that my son was born. We went down to a San Jose Earthquakes game, and then we came back up, and I looked in the newspaper, because I bought San Jose Mercury, and looked at the classified ads, and there was an ad for wrestling magazines, and I thought, what? So I called a guy, and we talked, and he proceeds to ask me questions like, are you ribbing me, and what have you? And the first thing I thought was, okay, when you hear someone, are you ribbing me, this guy is in the business.
Right. Ribbing is a form of joking that, wrestlers say backstage, and for a prank, for people out there that don't know what we're talking about.
Right. And so I asked the guy, and like I said, I won't mention his name. I won't say his name. But he goes, yeah, I was in the business, and we talked, and I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. And it turned out that he has these old reel-to-reel audio tapes. I guess somebody in the mid-'60s had one of those reel-to-reel audio tape recorders.
Right.
And put the microphone in front of the TV and taped the audio of National All-Star Wrestling, which that's what the show was called when it was on Friday nights on Channel 2.
Exactly, yeah. Okay.
And so without rhyme or reason, the guy trusted me. He mailed me the 18 or 2400-foot reels of audio, which took me 3 to 4 years to transfer it all to audio cassette. Now, my wife, bless her heart, she went to an antique store, and for a birthday present, she bought me a reel-to-reel tape player.
Cool.
I was able to hook that up with patch cords to my cassette deck, and I would, there would be a lot of recording, adjusting volume, because some of it was low distorted. I had to kind of fix it.
Right.
Some of the tapes were dirty, not as in vulgar, but dusty.
Oh, I bet.
And so I got from 1965 to the final show in 1970 on Channel 2, and it was like at the height of where Patterson and Stevens were Public Enemy #1, where they were the tag team champions, where Ray was champion against Bob Ellis, Cowboy Billy Watts,
right,
and all the legends that came in at that time. And I even have, and I put together on a special CD, the entire hype and promos when Ray wrestled Bruno Sammartino in that U.S. title versus WWF title match where Ray actually won the title.
Exactly,
Bruno.
Yep. Only us West Coast fans know about that. They kept it a secret.
Yep, and, in Wrestling Review magazine at that time, I guess there was an article about that. Ray defeats Bruno Sammartino in front of a riotous crowd and what have you. And but in New York, though, they didn't make reference to that because, probably, Bruno either went on vacation or did an injury angle because, he came out to San Francisco and then went to Japan and wrestled a little bit, on tour and then came back again. But, yeah, the gist of that match, and I know this because, listening to this over and over again, where they had a fall of peace, and, the ref takes a bump, and he falls out of the ring. Now, at the Cow Palace, the ring was pretty high, so, so falling out of the ring onto the floor. So, Bruno had Ray in the bear hug, and Ray was screaming, I quit, I give up. July 7th, 1968, by the way. Just screaming, I quit, but there was no referee, so Bruno let Ray down. He went to go, check on the referee, and Ray, one shot him in the groin and Bruno threw the ropes onto the floor. So referee climbs back in and counts Bruno out. Now, back in those days, countouts were considered clean finishes. So Ray Stevens, brand new Worldwide Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion, and this is what Walt Harris was saying on the TV broadcast. And then he proceeds to continue. He goes, "Well, I just got a telegram addressed to Roy Shire here at Channel 2 KTVU, 1 Jack London Square, Oakland.
Right.
And that they had an emergency meeting, that they stripped Ray of the world title, and that they couldn't strip him of the U.S. title because he didn't lose the U.S. title. They also fined him $1,000, put him on probation for 60 days, and if he did anything comparable to what he did to Bruno, he'll be suspended for 2 years." So that's going yay and so forth. The next couple of weeks, Ray is pissing and moaning, "I got to wrestle with one arm tied behind my back, or else I'm going to be suspended, and why should I fight that stupid Italian wrestler," and all this stuff. Well, anyway, they ended up having a rematch, and they go to a 60-minute Broadway. They got a 1-hour draw.
I wish I was a wrestling fan for that. The earliest I go on, before that, Bruno had to be in on that. I mean, he had to tell Roy, let's do this, and I'm open to do that, because Bruno, McMahon Sr. probably did not approve of that. Put it that way, I bet. I'm willing to bet.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they probably thought as long as it was kept in San Francisco or what have you. But when Ray's first interview as ex-champion, this is my inside joke. You hear Walt Harris go, "So how long were you world champion? 6 days?" And so that pretty much tells me that Ray Stevens held the Tri-WF title for 6 days.
Yep. What you just said. Most fans do not know it was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation title, WWWF. If we go back far enough, we can remember that. I definitely remember that. But, God, I would love to hear that one of these days. Walt Harris asking.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll have to, burn you a copy of the CD and I'll send it to you.
That would be great. I promised you a magazine, and I misplaced it. It's an article, I think it was with Dorothy Hopkins was mentioned in it, and I know it's in this one pile of magazines, so we could do a little trade.
No, I mean, like I said, time's of the essence. I mean, like I said, we both have stuff going. It'll happen.
Yeah, it will happen. I got a little recording for you to hear. This is the only recording of big-time wrestling I have, if you want to hear it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just make sure. I used to record with cassettes, and this is the only cassette of the oldest one I have. It's like 2.5 minutes, but let's see if it can play. Let's see if I...
Oh, okay.
Come on.
You better eliminate, because this is what I've got in my mind now. And you handcuff them and beat the hell out of them for 2 minutes, and that's for all of us fans. Okay, a big tag match coming up right now, fans, right after this brief timeout.
This is a little scratchy.
Okay.
It's Renner saying, it's Renner announcing Soul Man and Rocky Johnson winning their match, and here comes the interview. It gets better.
Congratulations on a great win. And I'll tell you, I know you guys are ready tonight. Because I'll tell you, you guys are moving so fast, the camera's in trouble with some of your actions. So I know you're in fantastic shape. We sure are, Hank. Tonight's the big one. And that's why we're in shape for it, Hank. We've been training real hard for this match because, Hank, we know we have to go an hour. We feel that the team that's in better condition is going to come out on top. Hank, all I can say about my partner, I never seen him train like...
He comes back.
Nope.
Here it comes.
Myself, we're really working out because, like I said, Hank, this is an important match. We know that the team that's in the best condition is going to win, and Pat myself feels that we're in better condition. Well, Hank, first of all, I feel that we have the advantage over these guys because I was talking to Rocky before. Hank, I I've been in those kind of matches twice before. You have to go 1 hour. The most fallen 1 hour is going to win the match. Hank, I was able to go 1 hour before, twice before in that kind of match. And Hank, you have to know how to get in that kind of match. You have to pace yourself. And those Germans, they've never been in those kind of matches. So Hank, that's why I say I feel that we have the advantage. We know how to pace ourselves, and I'll guarantee you we have some prize from them, Hank. Great. Well, I can tell you, you guys are former World Tag Team Champions. You were great ones. The Germans are a disgrace to the world's title. I don't have to tell you fellas that, or any of the fans out there. And tonight, I'll be looking forward to the World Tag Team Championship going back to where it rightfully belongs, Pat Patterson and Rocky Johnson. That's right. Rocky Johnson and Pat Patterson were the world's former tag team champions. But I'll tell you, after tonight, the Von Brauners are going to be the former champions. Hey, that'll be great. Pat, Rocky, all the best. And don't forget, fans, that big triple main event is tonight. Moondog, Maine, and Peter Maivia for the U.S. title.
And that's the end, because what happened with that is the cassette, the tape is so old. I mean, that is like, what, 75, 76? No, even earlier, Joe.
No, that was like 70, I'd say like
72?
74 to 75.
So that cassette is in horrible condition. That's the only thing I could salvage off that one cassette. I mean, I have a couple others of Lonnie against Roddy with Renner, but those are very readily available on YouTube. But I have the original cassette recording of that, and one of Mike LaBelle. I'll play that later on while I'm looking for it while we're talking. But the reason why I played that is you were privileged to see. You started watching Roy's promotion with Patterson against Stevens. That was the very first time around, wasn't it? Not the second time they brought that feud back. Was it the first?
Oh, it was the first time. Yeah.
Wow.
Ray was up here. Ray was here regularly. When I caught it, Ray and Maivia were the tag team champions, and Pat was U.S. champion, and he was teaming up with Ricky Hunter as the Gladiator.
Gotcha. Oh, you see, I came in on the second round of Patterson against Stevens, and the very first match of Dutch Savage coming to the Cow Palace to fight against Patterson as the U.S. champion. That's my very first Cow Palace match. And,
nice.
Go ahead.
Told me about with Dutch Savage. When Dutch came in, it was pretty much to take on Patterson.
Right.
And when Pat went up to Portland, he would take on Dutch, but Pat would be the heel because Dutch was the killer babyface.
God, I would have loved to see the interview. I loved Patterson as a heel. I loved him. I mean, I've only seen, I think, 2 interviews with him as a heel. And then he did that persona at Patterson's Pit, as I called it. But it wasn't Patterson's Pit. It was Patterson's interview show in French. That WW.
Oh, I saw some of that.
Oh, there's tons of them on YouTube, Joe. A lot of them. And he plays a bad guy.
Right?
It's awesome. Except when Andre's on, and Bravo, and one Rougeau's. He's a good guy for them because they're all French and Canadian and everything.
Right.
But Patterson is a bad guy in Portland against Savage. I would kill to hear that. That was cool because my mom had a huge. Oh, I told you this story before. I'm watching wrestling. Who's that handsome guy? Oh, that's Dutch Savage, Mom. He's at the Cow Palace. We're going. And I want the binoculars for that match. So she had the binoculars for the whole Dutch Savage match.
I will have to go through. I've got a couple of CDs. The one with the Ray and Bruno thing, and the other one I put together. I gave to Atta, Peter Maivia's daughter,
right.
Dwayne Johnson's mom. We're good friends, and I put together for her. I edited out all of Peter's interviews, and I put them on 2 CDs.
Wow.
I gave them to her at Cauliflower Alley, and she teared up and gave me a hug. And I made an extra copy. I said, "Now you make sure your darling son Dwayne gets it." And so she gave him a set as well.
Well, the tape I just played you, this has 5 seconds. The very first part of that tape I just played, that's Maivia talking to Renner about, and you beat the hell out of him, Peter, talking about Moondog, Maine. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. right?
5 seconds.
The stuff with Peter I have is when he first came in, he debuted with Klondike Bill.
Gotcha.
He came in as a team.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it worked all right. But then, Klondike Bill left and Peter stuck around, and then that's happening where he and Pepper became tag team champions. And they did a angle to where Pepper, I guess, was severely injured. And so he went to the Alliance and said, hey, instead of us giving up the belts, let me give up my belt, and, Peter can find a partner, which, Peter, supposedly, quote unquote, found Ray Stevens. So.
Gotcha. Now, that I didn't know. Joe, I didn't know that. Really? I'll be damned. That's how that happened. Okay.
Because Peter and Ray, Peter and Pepper, they beat Shibuya and Saito for the tag team.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I came on, like I said, after I was watching it on TV, but my first live Cow Palace match was that where Patterson fought Ray Stevens, and I vividly remember a man sitting in front of it. He might have been, now that I think about it, he might have been hitting on my mom, because my mom and dad were divorced at the time. My mom didn't have a wedding ring on. And so he was telling me all about the first Patterson and Ray Stevens matches that you saw, And he goes, you watch what's going to happen. They're going to start off scientific wrestling, and all of a sudden, Ray will slap Pat or vice versa,
Oh, okay. Because when I got turned on to it, this was when Ray was, both Ray and Pat were huge, heels.
Uh-huh.
And I guess they both left the area for a little bit, and Ray came back. And the story was Ray went to Japan, and he felt, well, I need to represent the United States in a respectable way, so I'm going to wrestle by the rules. So he came back and pretty much told what here's that, and pretty much everybody choked on their hot dogs and was like, what? And so, that's when he became the killer good guy. Well, Pat came back expecting to team up with Ray, but instead, he's a sissy now, so now I'm going to beat him. So basically, Ray had the babyface turn. Pat stayed heel.
Uh-huh.
And so that started round one of the feud. And then when, Ray left the area, went to AWA, and then Pat had the inevitable babyface turn himself.
That I remember. Uh-huh.
And Ray would come in, but, they would have a scientific match, but then a couple of miscues, and then they would just start brawling. It wasn't the feud. It was basically one little slap, one little punch, and then they pull it up.
Right.
And that happened maybe once or twice. And then a couple of years later, Ray would come back. And then, Pat, you hear Pat say to Hank Renner, and as for teaming up with Ray, it'll be a pleasure to team up with him. And then they reunited as the killer babyface, tag team.
They were so good. I mean, damn, they knew how to tell a story. They knew how to make their opponents look good. I don't think I'll ever see a better team than Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson, period. I don't care what anybody says.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I mean, that's what I've always said. I go on Facebook, and there's, idiot, tell me who the greatest tag team of all time is. And I always specifically say Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson, 1960s San Francisco version.
Yep, that version. They were amazing, just amazing, and they were so good. Even at the end of their career, the AWA had them against Adonis and Ventura at the Oakland Coliseum, if I remember right. I might be wrong.
Remember that?
I was there. Oh, my God. Oh, and I hated the AWA, Joe. I hated them. But I went only because of Ray and Pat were on top, and they kept the title. Ventura and Adonis kept the titles from a cheesy, dusty finish or disqualification finish,
It was a DQ, but I mean, just there.
Yes.
I marked out huge. I mean, Ray.
You didn't mark out as big as me.
Hey? As a matter of fact, it's funny because on YouTube there is an AWA interview with Gene Okerlund interviewing Adonis and Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, they spent a couple of days in Minneapolis doing all the interviews
for
all the local markets. But this particular interview I found was for the San Francisco market because I hear, welcome to the Bay Area. And then Adonis goes, well, yeah, I want to say hi to Grace Slick and Marty Baldwin at the Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to go eat dinner at Original Joe's and what have you. And then Ventura goes, well, you know, normally there's challengers that come after us, but we're after Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. Did not say the word crippler. You know,
right.
We're going after Patterson and Stevens, you know, because this is their hometown, this is their backyard, and when we beat them, we'll be kings of San Francisco. And basically, I mean, the interview stated, I mean, that Pat and Ray were ultimate baby faces, but because they were in San Francisco.
Right. Oakland, you know, one thing about Oakland is he'd always get the local localities in, well, the localities, like the local restaurants, or he'd say, I want to say hi to John Stennis of the barbershop on Bay Street there in San Francisco, you know, and I always liked that about Oakland, you know, he'd always get that in. And, but yeah, that's about the only AWA matches I really marked out for. I also did like, Jerry Blackwell, when they turned him after the big battle royal in Minneapolis where Bruiser Brody and Abdullah the Butcher and Sheik Adnan Al-Kaisi beat the daylights out of him for it's on YouTube, like for what, 9 or 10 minutes, just beat the crap out of him. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is the longest beatdown I've ever seen. Well, I'm going to go to this feud when it comes to the Cow Palace or Oakland. And my friend at the time, he worked for, some part-time, I forgot what you call it, where you sign up and they send you to work for 1 week at one place and the next week it's another place. Well, they sent him to the Cow Palace. And he helped Lucky Asshole set up the ring. He was a nobody. He never knew anything about wrestling, and they just were hiring guys from a hiring hall, basically. So anyway, he set up the ring, and then they let him stay basically in the audience wherever he wanted, and then after the match, he took the ring apart. But his interaction, the only interaction he had with the wrestler was Jerry Blackwell, and Blackwell said, hey, I'll give you a $20 bill for getting me a cab. So Rich, you know, this is way before cell phones. Right. Finally got in line at the payphone, the only payphone at one of the few payphones at the Cow Palace, got him a cab, and Jerry Blackwell stiffed him.
Wow.
I'm sorry to laugh, but, you know, Rich came back, he was actually staying in the back room at my place at the time, and said, Jerry Blackwell stiffed me, you know. But, yeah, I really liked Blackwell. You know, for his size, he was like the fattest guy I ever saw throw a drop kick.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, the first time I saw him was the AWA's second show in Oakland, and that was when he wrestled for the world title. He wrestled Vern Gagne.
Gotcha. So, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when, like, after the match he was beating up Bockwinkel or Gagne, whoever he was wrestling, and Hogan came out and body slammed him and then ran back to the dressing room?
The second show? No, Hogan wasn't there yet.
So what? I was talking to a friend the other day, Bob, of Bob's Radio Cafeteria, who I always get a plug-in for, my good buddy, of the Clarences, which you could see on YouTube, under the Clarences. I was trying to remember when did that happen, because I'm almost like, hey, have I lost it, Bob? Have I making stuff up? I vividly remember Hogan running out from the dressing room and body slamming Jerry Blackwell and running back to the dressing room on theme from Rocky III. Do you remember?
Blackwell picked up, was it? This wasn't in Rocky III, I don't think.
Oh, no. It was the song of Rocky III, the theme song they were playing when Hogan came out.
Now, was this on TV or did you see this in person?
It was in person. Live, at the matches. I was there. I saw it. I mean, the place went crazy.
I don't recall because I never attended every AWA.
Okay.
Tried to.
Maybe Derek knows, or Rock. Well, Derek would know. So I think he...
I would be surprised if that happened.
It did.
No. I mean, you know, Hogan coming out and body slamming Blackwell was like, wow.
It was amazing.
Speaking of Blackwell, you made a reference to him with his babyface turn and what have you. this pertains to Dorothy Hopkins. Now, I don't know if I made references on the last interview or not. Now, if I did, feel free to cut me off.
Never. You're a god on this show. I'm talking to Joe Sousa, a god of wrestling. There you go.
No.
Well, I don't mean it literally.
There might be people, Rock Rims, Mike Rogers, Matt Farmer. They might throw lightning bolts down.
We'll have a three-way match: Farmer, Rims, and Sousa. Let's see who wins.
I would run.
I'll be the referee.
Dorothy Hopkins story here.
You're all right, Joe. I like you, man.
I love you too, man. Dorothy Hopkins, she was a confidant for the wrestlers at the time. And she made all the past ring jackets and film, and which we've talked about. But this particular time, she was at an AWA show at the Cow Palace. And, Brody came out, and he was walking up and down all over the place trying to scare people, which he did. And as he walked towards this one part of the aisle, Dorothy stood up. Now, Dorothy was a pretty tall lady. I'd say about as tall as Brody.
Wow.
And very heavy set. So, of course, he took a look at her and went another direction. well, the reason is because that wouldn't have worked if he tried to stare down someone that's his size, pretty much. So, anyway, after the show, she was in the back talking to Nick Bockwinkel. Well, Brody comes up and sees her, so he tries to pull the old kayfabe intimidation, what's she doing here or whatever. And Nick didn't say a word. Dorothy says, hey, Frank Brody, or Frank Goodish, or whatever your name is, I remember when you were just a scrub in Texas. And then he kind of looked funny, and Nick goes, oh, pardon me, Frank Goodish, Dorothy Hopkins. That's her?
I love that. That's a great story. Brody, I have a picture of, in one of the programs that Alan Bolte, who is a hard man to pin down, but once you pin him down, he's a great interview, and love him. We've been trying to connect for the last month and a half, but he has a great Brody story. Basically the same thing that you said, but Brody didn't ask who he was. Brody just went up to him in character and grabbed him in a headlock and said, somebody take this picture, and Alan goes, yeah, we'll put it in the program, and that's how that picture in one of the programs of Brody headlocking Alan came about.
They may have been two of them. There was also another one in the dressing room where...
that's the one I'm talking about. In the dressing room. I should have said that, Joe. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's good. They had an awesome picture.
It's just a shame. It's just a shame Shires couldn't pin Brody down and give him what he wanted. Brody against Patterson, which I'm going to bring up a great question for you. Brody against Patterson, Brody against Stevens. Those matches, matches that you wish would happen. Brody against Lonnie Main.
Which happened, I believe, in Texas.
Somebody told me, was it Rock? Yeah, Rock Rims also told me Lonnie wrestled the Sheik in Texas.
Yep.
Oh, and you know about him. Tell me what you know, because Rock was it's just messaging on Facebook. But was it a series of matches, or did Fritz Von Erich book it, or
I think it may have been a series, and J.J. Dillon played a part in it, because I believe Dillon managed Lonnie. I may have this whole thing all screwed up, but managed Lonnie, and then there was some miscues. So, Lonnie turned, inevitable babyface.
Right,
and,
which he did.
Fused with, J.J. Dillon and fused with the Sheik. But I believe he did him and Brody tangled once or twice.
Wow.
But now, as for him coming to the Cow Palace, we know that he came in because of the last couple of times, during the Florida and the Kansas City strictly for the Battle Royal.
Yes.
I'm thinking he brought him in strictly for the Battle Royal as one of the big stars of action, because at that time, Frank was just globe-trotting all over the place.
Right.
But hypothetically, Brody against, Pat, Brody against Ray Stevens.
Man, wouldn't you have liked to seen that? Damn.
Yeah.
That would have been the first one in line.
That would have been what I call fugly, which means effing ugly.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if Ray ever tangled with Brody anywhere in the world during their both illustrious careers.
There would I would have to. I'll talk to Barbara, and I'll send her a Facebook message. I'll ask her, by chance, did Frank ever wrestle Ray?
That must have been, just two consummate professionals. That would have been a great match. And also depending on how old Ray was at the time also. He was quite a bit older than Frank, wasn't he, by like 10 or 15 years?
I would think so.
Yeah. Well, that great question. If you could have any of the, and this would have to be at the Cow Palace, what would be your dream match? And I didn't ask you that before. It could be anybody, anytime, minus, the WWE guys now. We won't talk about them. But what would be your dream match that never came about?
Dream match that never came about?
Right. A dream match that never happened. Like, say, Patterson against Brody, Ray Stevens against the Sheik, or, something like that, on that account. Not namely those wrestlers in your mind that you always wanted to see wrestle, but didn't.
Man, right off the top of my head. Oh, my God.
I'll give you mine if you want to think about it for a bit.
Yeah, please do.
I just said it. Brody against either Lonnie, Ray, or Pat, or the Sheik against Lonnie, Ray, or Pat. That would be mine. I would have loved to have seen that because I only saw the Sheik live, saw a lot of tapes, only saw him live against Pepper Gomez during the U.S. title tournament.
Right.
That's the only time I saw him. And it was so fast.
The only time he was there.
Right. Yeah, right. It was. And but that would be my dream, dream match. Any of those six together. And I also never got to see Pampero Firpo because when Shires brought him at the end of his career, I was in the Coast Guard. I didn't see him during that time.
Oh, wow.
So I would have loved to see him against the Sheik, but that happened so many times in Detroit and in L.A. Mickey Doyle has told me about that. Tons of time. They must have wrestled each other 100 times.
Oh, yeah. To them it's a walk in the park, but for the fans, they were just, salivating for more.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. So, if you haven't come up with your dream match, I'll play you another tape.
Okay, I've got one.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I've got one. No disqualification, anything goes. It would have to be Ray against Brody.
See, now there's the booker in you and the fan in me. I didn't even think to add any stipulation. That's how much more better about it you are than me. That's great.
It would be a Texas death match. One fall, and basically, you win. Falls don't count. Basically,
right.
You win the fall, and then the ref starts counting to 10. And if you're not up, you lose.
Damn, that would be awesome. I think I've only seen 2 matches from the Shire era.
How'd you like to see it? But here's a little twist, though.
Okay, all right.
Dream match. Of my dream match. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah. Yes.
This would have to be in the mid-'60s when Ray was the most hated man on the planet.
Oh, yes, I've been told about that.
Brody would have to be the babyface. As much as I'm hating to say this, Brody would have to be the babyface, and Ray would have to be on his A game as a heel, which he will. Oh,
there was no one better than Ray. It's a shame, and a lot of us old guys know about it, when they were going to have their Pepper Gomez against Ray at Candlestick. I really believe it would have sold it out. I really believe it would have.
Oh, yeah. It was white hot. Especially after what happened the previous time. They were talking about it, and they were talking. It would have broken the Kaminsky Park record with Pat O'Connor and Buddy Rogers.
Oh, it would have, for sure.
But, of course, Ray Stevens, having to be Ray Stevens, broke his leg in a soapbox derby or motorcycle racing or...
Whatever, one of his endeavors.
Something.
What a shame. But Pepper had a very good career without that match. But let me play you something here. We'll go in a different direction. This, I don't think you've heard this. Okay. Here it goes.
Next year is now. Today, Friday, here at the Olympic Auditorium. That's right, because it's Battle Royal Night. The prices, $7.50, $5, children under 12, $2.50. Call now. Make your reservation. Richmond 9-5171. That's Richmond 9-5171. Yes, Friday night, Battle Royal Night. Who will it be? Will it be Andre the Giant, a former winner? Will Victor Rivera win? Is it going to be Black Corbin, the United States champion, Bob Roop? Can our own Chavo Guerrero win? Will it be Hector Guerrero? How about Mad Moondog Maine? Then Outlaw Ron Bass. It could be him. Rick McGraw. Japan's Dr. Ota. You think he'll win? Colosso Colasetti. How about El Ferron, the middleweight champion of the world? I don't believe these names are sensational. Don Benucci. How about Dean Ho of Hawaii? Johnny Rivera. Will it be the masked Canadian? How about Great Goliath, the Butcher? How about Fujinami of Japan? It could be any one of these great wrestlers. Who's it going to be? Well, don't think who. Come on down to the Olympic Auditorium Friday night. Take a look at this. You can be here. Call right now. The price is $7.50, $5. Children under 12, just $2.50. It's the biggest night of the year. Don't miss it. Call right now. Battle Royal Friday night. The number, Richmond 9-5171. Call and get your seats right now. Richmond 9-5171. See you Friday.
Well, okay, I thought I'd bring back a little memory for you.
Yes, I don't even remember. Well, I mean, it's been a long time, but
Really?
obviously, this had to have been one of the many layovers that talent came. Some of the talent came in either going to Japan or coming in from.
Yep. That's right.
Some of the guys coming in from New York, because when I heard Johnny Rivera, he was one of the top jobber mid-card guys for Vince Sr.
Yes. Well, LaBelle used to bring in mid-card guys and jobbers. Vandell and I talked about this. Another man that should be in the tag team. It should be, let's see, we'll put Rims and Farmer together against Vandell and you. You know, you each have a real wrestler on your side. Yeah, you got it right, you know. And it's interesting. They list Lonnie as Mad Dog Maine, which was his original moniker from when he first started wrestling. So that was interesting. Jeff Walton. And let me pick your brain, see if you remember, because I'm mind blanking. Great host. I forget the guy's name. Jeff Walton went to Tennessee, managed against Jerry Lawler, managed Randy Macho Man Savage, Tux Newman. He became a manager as Tux Newman was his persona.
Yes.
Yeah, people don't remember that. I was going to ask you the name because I forgot, and then I remembered it. But he was a great heel manager.
Oh, Billy was awesome. I mean, whether
Jeff was just
a manager. I mean,
that's all right. Yeah, Jeff was amazing.
Super nice guy.
Now you've met him, right?
He has a few books out too.
Yeah, Richmond 9-5171. I have that one.
Right. Yeah, that was. Yeah, Jeff Walton. My goodness. I mean, that was. Yeah, I read that book, and yeah, he was a manager, and people
don't remember that, you know. Well, let me ask you.
Now I'm assuming the Mad Dog Maine thing, that may have been a typo. Once again, just my opinion, and the only reason I'm saying is because when Jimmy Snuka debuted in San Francisco on Big Time Wrestling, for some reason, Hank Renner called him Tammy Snuka at first.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you remember looking at like, wait a minute, that's Jimmy Snuka. Why is he calling him Tammy for? Because, living up in Portland, living up in Medford, and that type of thing. And then finally, Jimmy goes, hey, brother, I don't want to correct you, but it's Jimmy. So like, whoops.
Well, that's when Jimmy could speak. Or Jimmy could always speak, but to fast forward 30, 40, maybe 45 years, the way they tried to get him for killing his girlfriend, and then they found they had him go to doctors, and either Jimmy pulled it over the wool over them, or Jimmy is real bad, but they said he's suffering from Alzheimer's and is unable to comprehend the charges against him. And now the latest is, I don't know if you kept up with it, the latest is they want him to see a doctor and put him under house arrest to see if he was faking or not, having Alzheimer's. Because Jimmy wants to relocate and live his final years in Florida with his son.
Yeah.
This is horrible what they're doing.
That whole thing is really, really sad.
Yeah.
And,
yep.
And if you're in the business, I guess it has been talked about what happened. I'm not going to say allegedly or, what have you.
Right, exactly.
Like I said, that's probably like another time, another place, or
right.
Maybe after we go off the air, we'll talk for a few, and I'll shed some light. I don't want to, say anything. But like I said, once again, my opinion, Jimmy was one of my all-time favorites, and I consider him a friend. I had the honor to call one of his matches, actually.
Okay, let's get into that. From start to finish, if you don't mind me interrupting you and being a rude host, here on DERFCAST 45 with Joe Sousa, how did you go about booking him? And just tell the whole story. That must have been amazing.
Oh, I didn't book him. No. This was when I was doing the play-by-play for Big Time Wrestling for Kirk White's promotion. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Kirk White.
Yes, I am.
He's a promoter.
Right. Right. He's still promoting.
Yeah. Well, no, I take that back. This had nothing to do with Kirk White. This was about the time when I was working with him. Working for him, excuse me. But there was a show in Pittsburgh or Antioch, or I forgot, one of those small towns over there. And it was a high school that once a year they run a benefit show. And it had nothing to do with Kirk White. I take it back. I just take it because I was working with Kirk White. I thought I was working for him at the time. Well, this particular card had Buff Bagwell, and it had Kamala on the card, and it also had Jimmy Snuka. And so I took my camcorder, and I kind of dodged my way in, get it for free. Hey, I like to sit with the media and that type of thing. And so I just sat there, plugged my camcorder in, hit the record button, and I started calling the entire show from top to bottom.
Wow.
And I was able to pull my way into the dressing room after it was all said and done. And I went up to Jimmy, and, I introduced myself, and we talked for a while. Told him, hey, Medford and Portland and that type of thing. And I have to find it, but there's a picture of me in the middle shaking hands with Jimmy Snuka and Kamala in street clothes.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be so cool to see that. You should put it on Facebook. Freak people out.
I will. But I'll ask Kamala. If I send him an email, hey, would it be okay if I put this on?
Oh yeah, you have to get the permission. Yeah.
It's more of a respect thing.
Right. Oh yeah. I don't blame you.
Of what he's going through now.
How's he doing?
I know he lost one of his legs due to diabetes. I don't know if he lost them both.
Yeah, I think they're both now. God bless him. I think it's both.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I'm standing between the two of them, and you look at this guy, and he looks like a redneck. He's got the Levi jacket, the sweatshirt, the ball cap with the brim, folded in half. Like a redneck. No disrespect to the rednecks.
Yeah, exactly. That's just persona.
This guy videotaping, going, hey, do a little belly rub. And so you got this redneck guy, smacking his belly, and it's like, that's pretty funny. That's Kamala. It's like, holy crap.
That is funny. I mean, he was so good. I saw him go against, was it Hogan? Yeah, Hogan at the Oakland Coliseum in the main event. They sold the Coliseum out on that card alone. Well, it was Roddy against Roddy and Bob Orton against Superfly and the guy they brought in, is Superfly's cousin. It was right during that.
Oh, Tonga Kid?
Yeah, Tonga Kid. And I think that helped sell it out. That was the two main events. And I have to say I'm embarrassed. To beat the crowd right after Roddy's match, I left.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man.
I felt so bad later on in life. I'm like, God, I really should have stayed for Kamala, but I just did not like Hogan. You know, I'm like, I'm only going because of Roddy, you know, and the Bulldogs were there. And, but yeah, it's embarrassing. Yeah, I left right after Hogan got to the ring. Well, I'm going.
Now, did I tell you about the last time I talked to Roddy was at Cauliflower Rally? Now, did I ever tell you that story?
No, you know, you saved it for our next show, and this is our next show. How's that?
Well, to kind of go backwards on that, I think it was like, wait a minute, I have the videotape that's sitting right in front of me, and I'm staring at it, from September 3rd, 2004. It was Portland Wrestling, not the Don Owen version, but the Frank Culbertson version, which, I mean, it's still pretty decent stuff. Roddy Piper was one of the advisors. Him and Lenny Denton, the grappler, they were advisors, you know, on the deal.
Right.
And so there was a show, a big show in Salem at the State Fair show, and they only had TV at the Cleveland Army for the TV tapings, but they I guess it costed quite a few hundred or thousand to bring a camera to another building. And so I had my camcorder, and so I told Frank, I go, you know, Frank, I'll sit up in the nosebleeds, and I'll just aim the camcorder to the ring, and I'll just commentate. And he said, well, yeah, that'd be great. Well, one of the feature matches was Hacksaw Jim Duggan against Fidel Sierra.
Gotcha.
An assassin.
Right.
Which up in Oregon, before for Don Owen, he went by the Assassin, the Destroyer, Top Gun, and that type of thing.
Right, not the Cuban assassin, but just the assassin.
Yeah. With Roddy Piper as guest referee. And so that was cool. And so, you know, we got in the building. Mike Rogers comes up to me and he goes, hey, Joe, you know, Pipes is going to be working. And I go, well, yeah, he's repping. And he said, no, Duggan couldn't make it because of the hurricanes and the tornadoes in Florida. He had to evacuate his family. So Roddy is going to wrestle Fidel Sierra. And my jaw hit the ground. In my wrestling fan mind, I'm thinking, holy mother Christ, I'm going to see Pipes wrestle.
Right.
In my wrestling career mind, I'm going to call a match with Roddy Piper Wrestling.
That is so cool. So did it happen? Did everything work out?
It was so cool. Piper came out, and then Fidel Sierra came out, and then Frank Culbertson made the announcement that Duggan couldn't make it, and so Sierra grabs the microphone and he goes, hey, you know, these stupid Americans, you know, they don't deserve to see me, and Duggan is just a chicken and that type of thing. So, hey, you know what, Roddy Piper, raise my hand because I win. And so Frank Culbertson goes, well, why don't we impose on Roddy Piper to wrestle? And Piper's going, no, I don't want to. And so Sierra gets in Piper's face, oh, you're just chicken, you're afraid, and all this. And, of course, he makes the big mistake and he slaps Piper.
Oh, God, I would love to see that.
It just got on from there. And for some reason, you know, it's one of those moments that just, it was a freeze frame moment. I mean, with me. The comment I made was, and it was quoting the Bad Bad Leroy Brown song by Jim Croce. You don't spit in the wind.
Right.
You don't pull the mask off of the Lone Ranger, and you don't spit at Roddy. You don't slap Roddy Piper.
Exact, man. I would have loved to hear that. Yeah, it's one thing about Roddy. Go ahead.
It was just a complete mark out. I mean, I called the thing. It was cool. I just wanted to show that one match. But going to the Cauliflower Rally a couple of years later, you know, we hung out and we talked. And you remember me from, you know, that show in Portland and that type of thing. And I went to go do something, and my wife Arlene was talking to him. And so I walk up, and they're laughing. And I go, what's so funny, guys? And Roddy goes, I tell you what, Joe, your wife, she's quite a hoot. And I go, what do you mean? Well, she told me that, when she gets down the dumps, she put one of your videotapes on of me in Portland and San Francisco, and then she started talking about Lonnie and didn't even mention Moondog or Maine, just Lonnie. And I looked at her and said, oh, the goldfish.
The goldfish, right.
And we laughed about that, and I go, now, I got to tell you, was that completely off the fly? And he goes, yeah, it was pretty much off the fly, but Lonnie was smart. He swallowed the goldfish. I chewed him, as you saw, and yeah, I know what happened after that. He went ballistic because, as you'll see, you swallow your fish, you don't chew them.
My old friend Kevin Strong, he used to listen to my shows. He's a busy guy. He's almost, he's 3 years younger than me, but has a family, and both his kids are in college. But anyway, he'll testify, I swallowed a goldfish after Moondog did it. I think I was 14 at the time.
Nice.
And I had Oscars in a fish tank. Oscars, they eat goldfish. And Kevin, on the way home, he goes, I bet you can't be like Moondog Maine. And I go, I bet I can. And I just pulled the goldfish out and swallowed it. Not the nicest thing to do. You could feel it going. I still remember it going down my throat, and then I felt bad because it was going to die. And now that I knew, as soon as it hit the stomach acid, it would die instantaneously. But as a kid, you don't know that. But yeah, Lonnie back then, that whole feud was just definitely on YouTube. All of those interviews, you could tell back then Roddy knew exactly what he was doing. You knew he was going to be a star just by those interviews alone that he cut against Lonnie. And
and they were both such wonderful friends, Lonnie and Roddy.
Right, which made it they just gelled so well together to the point that after Lonnie passed, and I've talked to you about this, to Rock, to Vandell, why Shires didn't make him the U.S. champion is just I'll never understand. And everybody I've said that to has said the same thing. Roddy would have carried it for a while. He would have been a great U.S. champion. And Shires just never really buttered up to him or, liked him that much, saw much in him or whatever. But Roddy would have had the territory for another year going. He definitely would have.
Yeah.
Because he did in L.A. Now, let's shift a little bit. You don't have a lot of knowledge about L.A., but you're more knowledgeable about Portland and Shires, if I remember from our last show.
Yeah, I know a little bit about L.A., but, like I said, very little, but compared to pretty much, watching it on TV, let alone going to see it in person, Shires and Don Owen, that's my...
Gotcha. So now you were privileged enough to see Roddy in Portland, of course.
No.
Oh, boy, my mouth wide open with my foot in it.
Well, no, not in person. Through the magic of videotapes.
Gotcha. Same here. I can't.
I saw Roddy. I have piles of Roddy on video.
Right.
But when I moved from Medford, it was 1974.
Okay, so he wasn't there yet.
Yeah. So moving down to San Jose, and then like in '75 when I started getting turned on to the shows on Wednesday night from the Olympic Auditorium, that's when I saw this skinny little kid Roddy Piper, and I thought, God, someone just needs to shut him up.
He was such a pain in the ass. It's funny, the last time I was on the air with you, I couldn't remember how I found LA Wrestling, but Vandell Drummond and I did a show, and I remembered how I found it just by channel searching one night. There was nothing on Wednesday night, and I came home, Mom and Dad weren't there, and I remember my mom had a strict rule. I couldn't sit an inch from the screen and watch TV. It was colored TV. Oh, it will ruin your eyes, and you'll go blind, and And so Mom and Dad weren't home. I was on my own. I'm just going to flip channels. My dad was really, really protective of the TV. He didn't like channels flipping really fast. You'll break the channel selector, and all of that. So, whenever they weren't home, I was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the channel just to, So anyway,
God, it's the old buzzsaw. With my mom and dad, especially my dad as well. What's the one? If you sit too close to the TV, you can go blind.
Yeah.
Put that thing away. That can poke an eye out.
Right, exactly. They'll poke an eye out.
And you try, and if you think about questioning them, what was that, boy? And it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of right under duress because you don't want to get slapped upside the head.
Right. Your dad and my dad, very old school, I'm willing to bet. I never back-talked or questioned my dad. I'd get that look, okay, Dad, I'm going to my room, goodbye. And I got smart that way. But I found the Wednesday wrestling, and that theme song, that was playing on the channel, and I go, well, what's that? And Gene LaBelle came on. So the very first LA wrestling I saw was in English with Gene LaBelle interviewing, not Roddy Piper and not Chavo Guerrero. I remembered it the other night. Not Victor Rivera, but one other guy. Outlaw Ron Bass. That's the very first one I saw. So, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was Java Rook and Roddy Piper.
Java Rook.
Yeah, which was
Johnny Rod's in New York.
Right, Johnny Rod's in New York. So that's when I first saw that, and then I was hooked from then on. So what's your first Portland memory? Your very first Portland wrestling memory?
The very first one. That's easy one. We moved. I take it back. About a month before we moved away, we drove up to Medford to go house hunting. I vaguely remember this. And we got to Medford, and we ate at this restaurant. And now, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
57. I was born in 1959.
Okay. I will be 53 August 8th. Okay. So we're within the same range.
Right.
So you remember a restaurant called Sambo's?
Oh, of course. I got a coffee mug from them, and it's considered a racist memorabilia, a piece of memorabilia.
I never got all that. The only thing I remember about Sambo's was the genie and the tiger, and
the tiger.
And we never had dinner there. It was always breakfast.
Right.
What I remembered about it was the bacon and eggs, pancakes, and syrup, and the tiger butter.
Right, exactly.
And I know the Sambo or whatever, and you know what, if one is going to be PC or racist, just go suck a cup of coffee and get lost or something.
Yeah, times were different then. Times were different back then. We could get into a whole thing about PC, but so anyway, you had your breakfast at Sambo's.
Had the breakfast.
Yeah.
We went house hunting, and I vaguely remember we rode past this building, and there was this big banner on the window that read "Wrestling Wednesday," and I'm kind of like, what? Wrestling Wednesday? Didn't quite think it was Portland wrestling. I mean, like I said, we were new in Oregon. So anyway, a few weeks later, we made the move and we got cable TV, and looking at the TV guide, wrestling. And little did we know. Now I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I was very, very lucky at that time because on Saturdays from 8:30 till 12, live from the Portland Sports Arena on Channel 12 was Portland Wrestling. Okay? Now, from 5 to 6 o'clock, now that particular cable company in Southern Oregon got KTXL Channel 40 from Sacramento. So you know where I'm going with this.
Right.
So I got to see the Shires promotion and the newly tuned in Don Owen promotion. Oh, I was in wrestling heaven.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So after watching that, a couple of days later, we went to the Medford Armory, which was about maybe 2 minutes from the house. So we went to the Armory, saw the house show, which was like 4 matches. They all probably piled in the same car and did that thing. I remember seeing Al Madrill, Stephen Little there, but what I remember was the main event: Dutch Savage and Stan Stasiak against Clay Spencer, which was Ken Mantell, and Apache Bull Ramos.
Wow. You see, now, you just hit a nerve on me. My first Portland match I saw was at the Pendleton Armory Live. I saw it on TV with my aunt. I'm 8 years old. It was Snuka against, I told you this before, Bull Ramus. Scared the bejesus out of me, literally. As a little kid, Ramus, and I sat 2 rows from ringside, he would make eye contact. I'm firmly, I believe this from the bottom of my heart. He would scare kids on purpose, Joe.
That's what a heel would do. And if he sees you hooked, he'll work the match or whatever, and he'll pierce his eyes into yours. Oh, Mother Christ!
Scared. I had nightmares that night, and my aunt was laughing so much when I woke up. Aunt Dorothy, my uncle, she didn't care. It was my uncle who took care of me that night. Yeah, okay, it's okay. You're going to be okay. My Aunt Dorothy, yeah, you got it. You got the bug or whatever she said. You got bit or whatever by Ramus, you know. Damn, he was scary. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, and at that time, you know, saw Kurt Von Steiger, Ripper Collins, you know, he wrestled there as well.
There's another name.
Jack Briscoe actually came in and defended the title in Medford.
Yeah.
Lonnie Main did one of his returns back to the Northwest, kind of what Ray would do, coming in for a day or two from AWS.
Right. Oh, you were so lucky. Ripper Collins. Now, I don't remember him that much except on TV towards one of his very last appearances. Might have been San Francisco. It might have been L.A. No, I am so wrong. He was the color guy for Leo Navia's wrestling.
Polynesian Pacific Pro Wrestling. Yeah.
Right. That's the only time I ever heard him or saw him on TV.
Oh, God, I hated him in San Francisco, and I hated him even worse in Oregon. He was just bad, and he did lose a hair match, so for a couple of months he would wear a mask. But back in those days, and they would do it in the Bay Area as well.
Right.
They would have the rare local angles, where there's one particular. This was a match with Savage and Snuka against Kurt Von Steiger and the hated German and Ripper Collins. Well, there were some miscues between the heel team where Collins actually beat up Kurt Von Steiger. So Von Steiger challenges Collins to a grudge match 2 weeks from that night back in Medford. Sold out house, okay? So the main event in a grudge match, Kurt Von Steiger versus Ripper Collins. Now, being that it was like 1972, 73, you would think that, you know, Ripper Collins would get the babyface pop and Kurt Von Steiger would get the heel pop because he's German, right?
Right. Wrong.
Big time wrong. Von Steiger came out to a babyface pop that would make Hulk Hogan blush.
Wow. I'll be damned. I mean, you were so blessed. I mean, the best of both promotions. You know, this the best. I mean, although LA. I mean,
Moondog Moretti, he gives me grief to this day.
You still in touch with him?
Okay, I mean, because he wrestled for both territories.
Right.
Huge fan of both territories. And me, I got to watch them both as a kid on Saturday.
Damn. So, why did he quit wrestling? Did you know any background to Moondog Moretti?
We're good friends. I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm not too sure. I'm going to assume probably I guess him and his wife, they had to go take care of some relatives. They needed some help, you know, down in Clear Lake area. So he lives there, and he's doing okay.
Because he's just kind of like dropped out of the wrestling scene, or does he do any meet and greets up in Oregon or anything like that, or he's just one of the gentlemen of the ring that just said goodbye? It seems to me.
I think he kind of sort of said goodbye, but he kind of keeps his ear on the pulse.
Gotcha.
There's always people that, you know, wish him well and that type of thing. Now, just so you know, he does have possession of the World Tag Team title belts from Shires.
Right. Now, I have heard that. Yeah. Yep.
And that is true because I myself, and I'm very proud to say this, I myself have held on to both of them.
Wow. I would have loved to touch. My thing would be to touch the United States Championship belt. Although any belt from Shires I would have loved to have. Well, there were only 3 of them. Oh, no, wasn't there a TV title towards the end?
The TV title was the trophy.
Gotcha. It was a trophy with Bob Roop having it. Gotcha.
And I'm assuming that trophy was the same Battle Royal trophy that they used in the Cow Palace.
I'm willing to bet you're damn right. Now, since you brought up Battle Royal, I have a lineup sheet here from the 1980 Battle Royal.
Okay.
Now, these were the matches that were supposed to happen with the wrestlers that were supposed to be there, and I'll read it off to you. The first match would be Bruiser Brody against Chavo Guerrero, Ron Starr against the Assassin, Dusty Rhodes against Don Leo Jonathan, Peter Maivia against the Masked Intern, T-John, I can't pronounce his name, T-John Tubuha and Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk versus Ernie Ladd, Gene Kiniski, and The Sheik. The U.S. Championship match would be George Wells, the champion, versus Bob Sweden, Headbutts Band, and the second main event for the World Championship, 1 fall, 1 hour, Harley Race, the champion, against Ray Stevens. Now, that was the listed match for that Battle Royal. Basically, hardly any of those matches happened from that, what I remember. And
I do know that the Stevens race match went because Ed Moretti was the referee.
Gotcha. Now, see, that's why I brought this up. I wanted to ask you what you know about this card, because sadly, I was supposed to go to this match, and let's just say the police pulled me over, and I had parking tickets up the wazoo, and I didn't make it.
Whoops.
Yeah, whoops, exactly. I was so mad, you know. So who is that man, T-John, T-I-B-B?
T-John Thibodeau or whatever.
Yeah. Who and what was he?
Supposedly he was kind of like I don't want to sound disrespectful, basically a fat boy gimmick, kind of like a haystack cow.
Right, Man Mountain Mike, yeah.
Yeah, but this guy, virtually no talent. What I did hear about him was in one of those matches, I guess he got kicked hard in the stomach, and he left his lunch in the ring.
Great. Okay, let's move on.
And I think that was his first and last time in the Cow Palace.
Got you. So he was there twice, if I remember right, and it may be in his last match.
That may have been his last time.
Right, that was his last match. I'm willing to bet. So, interesting lineup. Don Leo Jonathan in 1980 still wrestled.
Yeah. That time period. That was when Roy was getting the TV from Kansas City, and he would get maybe, as you know, a couple of guys from Kansas City,
right?
And he would get the local crew, whatever who was left, and just try to grab other people. Yeah, Don Leo. In 1981 or 82, Don Leo's last match was in the Salem Omri against Andre the Giant.
I'll be damned. Now, Bob Sweden came in for a while. As a matter of fact, like I asked you and you remembered the angle and corrected me, with George Wells being managed by Gerhard Kaiser. He fought Sweden. And Kiniski, I don't know, Kiniski didn't show up for that Battle Royal, I don't think. I don't think he made it. Neither did the Sheik.
There's a picture that Leno took, and it had to be either from one of the last two, because there's a picture of Kiniski with Brody and Ed Wiskowski.
Yeah, that had to be the last one then. Yeah, okay. So, the other man I wanted to ask you about, was that, okay. What's your opinion of Ron Starr? What did you think of him?
When I first saw him, he was, he was, I believe, tag team champion with Dean Ho, or tag team partners. I liked him.
Gotcha. Yeah, I liked him.
I enjoyed him.
I really liked him. He played to the fans, and he was able to either brawl or have have a scientific match.
Yeah, very solid. I mean, looking back on him now, very solid boy. I mean, I really liked him. And then when Shire shut down as a territory, Star stuck around. But then he went up to Portland, where he and Adrian Adonis, they feuded with Rose and Wiskowski, and they were Northwest Tag Team champions, there for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And then when LaBelle came into San Jose, from L.A.,
right.
from Star, I didn't know he was a big-time heel in L.A., and so he was being booed in San Jose. I'm thinking, what? But, it didn't really click.
Uh-huh.
I knew that Shires, stopped, running everywhere but the Cow Palace and that type of thing. So, but very solid, very good on interviews. Solid performer, very good guy.
Yeah, I actually was at the Battle Royal he won, and the crowd went crazy. Rock Rims is doing the book on him and puts that video up ever so often. It's on YouTube too.
Leno gave me a copy of that. This was a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
And
well, that's where it came from. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure if it came from Leno or it may have bounced around. But
yeah, it's bounced around, but Leno got it. Interesting. Boy, I've been to Leno's house a long time ago when I loaned him that recorder. Because originally, but anyway, it don't matter why I was there. That man had 2 whole rooms of VCR tapes. Just tons and tons. And just when you think you've seen it all, he goes, I got a whole garage of this stuff. It's amazing what that man has.
Oh, yeah. Well, considering all the stuff he's done, I mean, as a photographer the world over, shot photo not only in L.A. and San Francisco, but Japan, Mexico.
Yeah.
Flew to New York and did a lot of stuff there. I mean, you got to get the devil his due.
Right. Oh, God, yeah.
Have thing against him or for him. I mean, he's done a lot as a credit to the business. I mean, only as the old saying, it goes, it is what it is.
Right, and for the West Coast, he's kept wrestling alive on the West. He's done a good part. He's done his part to keep wrestling alive on the West Coast. I would definitely give him that with all due respect. From his show to...
That footage that you were talking about, that's about the best way for a novice to experience Cow Palace wrestling is to put that tape or DVD on.
Right.
And crank it full blast, especially after Ron flips Harley Race over the top rope, and that place
goes
nuts.
When Alan Bolte comes in the ring, you're a winner of the $30,000 Battle Royal, and it will be presented the check by promoter Roy Shire. Yeah. Damn, have you talked to Alan lately, or... Because I'm definitely going to see him in 3 weeks, within 3 weeks from now.
Well, when you see him, give him my love, tell him I wish him well.
Oh, I will.
And the last time I talked to him was oh my God, a few months ago. It was about 2 or 3 months before my show.
Great.
Here. That took place on March 26th.
That's why I'm bringing this up, because I want you now, since it's coming to the end of the show, to promote yourself.
Because Alan was a guest on the show. We did an interview. And I figured with Alan as a guest, I went ahead and made the announcement who we were going to induct into our West Coast Wrestling Hall of Fame up here in Eureka.
Right.
And now last year, as you know, we inducted Lonnie Mae.
Right. You told me that on the show, right?
Right. And this time around, we inducted the Farmer family. Woody Farmer, his son Hawkeye Shane Cody, and Cody's son Riot. And the reason we inducted all 3 is because they're the only 3-generation family that ever, to this day, hasn't happened since, I don't think it'll ever happen again, participated in a 6-man tag team match.
Right. Yes. Woody Farmer used to do strongman things on TV.
Yep. He also used, on YouTube, he had a show where he talks to Moolah, Mae Young, and Freddie Blassie. It's kind of like a roundtable discussion on YouTube. And also, Woody, he did have a promotion called Bay Area Wrestling.
Right, and Chris Jericho came from that.
Pardon?
Chris Jericho wrestled there.
Yep.
I remember seeing it. They played the same tape every week for 6 weeks, so I finally quit watching.
Yep, he wrestled Hawkeye Shane Cody, and of course, the little punk Jericho lost because he was the rookie scrub.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, man. So now tell me about your promotion, what's going on, what's going to happen, and how people could watch it and listen to it and all of that. And,
well, truth be told, about 4 years ago, on one of my trips up to Oregon, my buddy, my co-promoter, no longer because he's moving out of the area in a couple of weeks, Michael, we drove up, and he asked me out of left field, he goes, Joe, what would it take to do a show? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, do a show in our hometown. And I looked at him and I go, are you talking about like a box show? And he said, no, you've been in enough dressing rooms, and you've been, you have an idea of what's going on. What would it take for us to do a show on our own? And I did all the pull-ups out of the road. I had to think about it, but then I quickly told him, it's not going to happen. I'm telling you no. Well, why? Well, because guaranteed you'll lose money.
Right.
I'm telling you right now. So for several months, even though we're good friends, what have you, real close, real tight, he kept pestering me. No, let's do this. No, come on, no. And finally, I succumbed to it, and I looked at him and I go, here's the number. This is what it's going to take to do a show passable. Okay, let's do that.
Wow.
And once again, I said no. And for another couple of months, kept pestering me. I said no. And then finally, I went mafia on him. I go, are you sure? Because once you're in, and that's it. There's no turning back.
Right.
And he said, I'm sure. And I said, okay. So we did it. I did the advertising, the promoting, the posters, and you saw all that stuff on my Facebook. And we drew a little under 200 people, which not bad for a first time. And the crew we had was really good, really, really small. But I said, first and foremost, I want people that I trust, not people that I don't know. And because the thing is, unlike other in Oregon or in the Bay Area, we are at least 6 or 7 hours from talent in Oregon, 6 or 7 hours from talent in the Bay Area. So we're literally behind the redwood curtain. So people would have to drive up here for this to work. And so,
right.
And so we almost had a mishap about the ring. There was some people that promised me a ring. Didn't happen 2 weeks before. Well, we thought we could do it, but it just didn't happen.
So what did you do? Why don't you stop for me and tell that story real quick? Because that's something nobody ever thinks about that goes on behind the scenes of a promotion. All of a sudden you're 2 weeks before the promoted show, you've done your advertising on however you did it, and the talent knows to show up, and all of a sudden there's no ring.
With the advertising, what we did was we had the local NBC affiliate. They did a story on us. Local newspaper, ESPN radio, Facebook. We did everything but hold people at gunpoint saying, you're going to we did old school posters all over the place. And also I did the commercial for all 3 shows. I did the commercial, which aired on Raw and SmackDown and everything else and that type of thing. I busted my hump doing all this.
Right.
Now, okay, and then 2 weeks come by, I get this phone call, well, my uncle was supposed to bring the truck down, he's not able to, and I go, okay, we're 2 weeks away from the show, and this is happening. Okay. And so I talked to my co-promoter, he hit the panic button, because he's a real novice at this.
Right.
Bless his heart. And so we did some looking and what have you, and thank goodness for Sparky Ballard.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm familiar with that name.
Now, Sparky remembered me because the group that he worked for, called Fog City Wrestling, this is how far back we're going here, back to 2011 or 2012, they did a show up here in Blue Lake. It was a benefit show. And so I worked with him then, and he remembered me, and so some of the guys. He was like, hey, I know you. And so, we started talking on the phone, and Sparky goes, wait a minute, you're the guy that lives up there. Hey, I remember you. So we talked, what would it take to bring a ring up here to set up and tear down? And so he has a ring, and so he brought the ring up. And so since then, he's been my senior official and ring crew and putting the ring up and that type of thing. So the crack up with that was, after the show, a couple of days later, we got a phone call from the venue, from Beverly Acres. Well, they said, well, we got a problem. We have to have an emergency meeting. And so we went.
Uh-oh.
And it turned out that, I guess, a couple of days after the fact, their phones were ringing off the hook. Well, if we knew wrestling was back in town, we'd come see it. And so, being that said, they asked us, how do you guys feel about doing another one?
Awesome.
I was not prepared for that answer. Because as far as I was concerned, check off the bucket list, one and done.
Okay, one and done. Okay, I spoke too soon. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, that was the idea, but then all of a sudden this happened. So I look at him and he looks at me and, okay, let's do it again. And so we did it again, the following year. And we doubled our crowd. We drew 400 people. And we had a lot more talent. All the matches were good. And it was cool. And at that time, it was the crazy weather that was going on where planes were diverted, delayed, and all that. So we had people flying in from Texas, people driving from Utah, people taking a Greyhound bus from LA, people coming in from Oregon. But at the 11th hour, everybody came in. And we put on one heck of a show. And at the end of it, I went back to the dressing room and I thanked everybody. And everybody said, no, Joe, thank you. Because of the atmosphere and the craziness of the audience, they literally got off on what happened that night. The matches were great, but the crowd was just white hot.
That sounds fantastic. What a damn. So
no. That was the second show.
Right, that's the second show.
That was when we had Lonnie May inducted in our Hall of Fame. His brother Sean was supposed to be here, but he wasn't able to. He drew ill. And so we went ahead a few months later. We presented him with the Hall of Fame award at Cauliflower Alley. So, which brings us to this past March 26th. So we did it again, and we had a star-studded card. And our main event, we went old school. We went an old school 2 out of 3 fall, 1 hour time limit bout between two good guys. The champion quiz against the Maricos in a good guy versus good guy match.
And how did that work out for you?
Went well. It went wonderful. The crowd ate it up. I went old school. Both guys came out to their entrance music. And as soon as that got done, I was in the ring, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's final bout, scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls with a 1 hour time limit, is for the IHWE West Coast California Championship. Crowd applauded. When the bell rings, your referee is IHWE California senior official Sparky Ballard. He got a round of applause.
Okay.
They introduced the challenger Americos champion quiz. Boom, they went to town, and it was cool.
Man, so now let me ask you this: what's the people would ask? What's the biggest name wrestler you've ever had on your shows? Whether or not he main evented or not, or she main evented.
Well, they're all known on the West Coast. Whether it be in the Bay Area or up in Portland. It's just how it's promoted, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, tell us. I'm getting towards the end here. Tell us. Tell my. I probably have four listeners out, but no, I'm teasing you. So, is there another show coming up for your promotion, or are you trying to get that together, or what do you see for the future?
Well, because my co-promoter is leaving the area, and I'm not making excuses and that type of thing. Like I said, it was supposed to be one and done 3 years ago.
Gotcha.
And after the second one, it was supposed to be done, and then the third one, and so personally, I would like to do another one. As a matter of fact, because there's been some people asking, Joe, what are you going to do that your co-promoter's gone, what have you, and they know I can do this. And I've had people well wishes, Joe, you can do this, because I don't raise a lot of static on Facebook. That doesn't mean I'm keeping my mouth shut, if that makes any sense.
Oh, totally.
There's people I'm talking to, and what I need, and what it all comes down to is money. Because, like I said, where I live, where, the people, the talent has to come in, and then you have your advertising, you have the building rental, everything, there's a lot of shady people in this business.
Oh, of course.
That will promise you the world, and skip town, and I'm the complete opposite. I make sure everything is paid for up front, and I try to recoup at the box office. That's how I work, or that's how I roll, what have you.
Right,
Being at that there's already a few sponsors from last year or last March that they're interested in wanting to do this again. They're wanting to do this again next year.
Uh-huh.
So for this to happen, I would have to raise X amount of dollars to do this. But also in the contract, I threw a little curve in it, which it's a win-win for everybody. By a certain period of time, if I don't make that certain amount, everybody that, paid me their sponsorship money will get their money back. So it's a win-win. Either there will be a show or you get your money back. That's how that works.
That's how it should be. You're so old school. That's why I enjoy having you on the show, Joe. It's been great talking to you. So, it's been 90 minutes, and I'd love to have you on again. So
let's do it, man. I mean, I'm just either a phone call or Facebook away, man. I mean, just contact me and let me know. Give me a day or two ahead of time.
Yeah.
If anything going.
Oh, for sure.
I'd like to come back on. I mean, we'll do it again, man. I mean, the thing with San Francisco and Portland, there's so much to talk about.
Oh, we haven't touched. We've only scraped the surface off of Portland. I mean, there's so many things I want to ask you about Portland.
Yeah.
But, like I said, we're at the 90-minute mark. So people, what's your Facebook? How do they get a hold of you on Facebook if they want to ask you about your promotion and you personally? And
anybody that wants to find me, just Joe Sousa. That's JoeSousa. Just go to Facebook and type that name in, and you'll see a couple of pictures of me.
Gotcha.
There's a picture of me surrounded by my three kids, Patty, Mike, and Jessica. I have the old school Sounds of Earthquake shirt on. And also there's a picture of me fans at last year's Rumble in the Redwoods. Send me a friend request or a message or something, and we'll talk.
Got you. Well, stay on the line, after I end the show. We can talk about another couple things. But thank you so much. And I enjoyed you so much on the show. I'm not even ready to end the show with the themes and all of that, so give me a second here. But